So, good morning. We will discuss now various instruments which are important, which we regularly use in ICU. So, we start with oropharyngeal airway. It is Goodell's airway. It is a curved, rigid, kink-resistant device which pushes the tongue forward and it prevents its fall and keep airway open. It has three parts. Flange, bite block and air channel. This is the reinforced bite block which lies between the teeth, and this is flange. It lies outside the mouth and it limits the depth of insertion. And they comes in various sizes ranging from 000 to 6, and all are color coded. Uses are to maintain open airway, prevent tongue bite, prevent biting of endotracheal tube, facilitate suction, conduit for passing devices into oropharynx, obtain a better mass fit. And we cannot use it in patient with intact gag reflex and in patient with oropharyngeal growth and trauma. So prerequisite of insertions, first estimation of size. So how we estimate a size of oropharyngeal airway? From angle of mouth to angle of mandible. And method, we open the mouth, insert the instrument with its concavity towards heart palate, and once it's inside the mouth, we rotate it to 180 degree and proceed further. So what are the disadvantages? Due to incorrect size, it may cause airway block and it may cause laryngospasm in some awake patient. Advantages are simple to use, cheap, not associated with sore throat, and does not cause bacteremia. Next is nasopharyngeal airway. It also has three parts: flange, air channel, and bevel tip. So the size of nasopharyngeal airway depends on inside diameter in millimeter. So how we estimate the size of nasopharyngeal airway? From tip of the nose to earlobe. Okay, and how we insert it? First we lubricate the airway, and then we insert it perpendicular to nose. And contraindication are, we cannot use it in in coagulopathic patient. In patient with basilar skull fracture, it may migrate into the cranium, and nasal pathology or deformity of nose, and history of epistaxis and requiring medical treatment. Uses, to maintain airway in patient with intact gag reflex, to facilitate suctioning as a guide for fibroscope and nasogastric tube, to maintain ventilation during oral fiber optic endoscopy. Advantages are, it is better tolerated than oral airway if the patient has intact gag reflex. It can be used in patient with loose and poor dentition, trauma or pathology of oral cavity. It can be used when the mouth cannot be open. So complication of artificial airway, airway obstruction due to inadequate size and blocking with mucus plug. It can cause trauma, tissue edema, ulceration and necrosis, central nervous system trauma, dental damage, laryngospasm and coughing, retention, aspiration or swallowing of device or part of device, equipment failure, latex allergy and gastric distension. Next is laryngoscope. It has different parts. This is handle, this is blade. Which blade is this? Mirror. The three is slip groove, and fourth is light source, and this is LED light pipe. So these are the different blades. Curved one is Macintosh, straight one is Miller, and one with tilting tip is McCoy. The advantage of McCoy is in difficult intubation situation, the visualization is better with this. Next is endotracheal tube. It is the most common definitive airway device used in ICU. So various parts are, A is, what is A? Then what is B? A is wall, unidirectional wall. B is pilot balloon. What is C? It's machine end. What is D? Connector. Size 15 mm. And this is E is tie. What is F? Radio line. What is G? The size of tube written over there. And what is H? Cuff. This is patient end. And what is J? Okay, what is the importance of this black line? During intubation, we have to keep it below the vocal cords. And complications are oropharyngeal intubation, esophageal intubation, endotracheal, endobronchial intubation, and impaction of the strip to the tracheal wall, which cause obstruction. What is this device? This is okay. Used for how much pressure we should keep if we keep it more than 30 for prolonged period, then okay. And over inflation of cuff may cause narrowing of lumen or stretching of tracheal wall. Now laryngeal mask airway. This is a supraglottic device. This is used as a temporary airway management in patient where there is difficult bronchial mask ventilation and failed intubation. So it has different parts. This is curved shaft with 15 mm connector. This is elliptical spoon-shaped mask with cuff, and this is pilot balloon. This is classic airway. Okay. So it varies in size from 1 to 6, depends on patient weight. So insertion, how we insert it? First we have to keep patient head in sniffing position. Then we check the integrity of cuff by inflating it. Then deflate it completely. Apply lubrication jelly on the posterior aspect. Then hold the LMA in pen holding position with index finger over junction of cuff and the shaft. And we insert it by pushing it through hard palate and hypopharynx until you feel the resistance. Then inflate the balloon, the cuff, and check the position by connecting it to EtCO2 monitor. Now combi tube. It is a device used for difficult airway. The parts are two separate lumens, pharyngeal and tracheoesophageal, that are fused longitudinally to inflatable cuff. Each lumen is linked by short tube to a standard 15 mm connector. Pharyngeal lumen has occluded distal end and has 8 oval ventilating eyes between the cuffs. Tracheoesophageal lumen, patent distal end, and a clear tube. The smaller distal cuff serves to seal either esophagus or trachea depending on its position, and the larger pharyngeal cuff is above the perforators. The pilot balloon for the pharyngeal cuff is colored blue. So it comes in regular size and small size. Recommended for the patient with a height greater than 5 feet. Not recommended for the patient younger than the 12 years of age. So how we insert it? We keep the head in neutral position or sniffing position. We insert it blindly. Then inflate the cuff, both pharyngeal and esophageal cuff. 95% of the times it goes into the esophagus, and start ventilating with the pharyngeal tube, and if it is not ventilating, then changes to tracheal lumen, and confirm your position with EtCO2 tracing. Indications: airway management in difficult to intubate patient, massive airway bleeding and regurgitation, limited access to the airway and limited mouth opening, cervical spine injury, useful in entertainers in whom it is important to avoid vocal cord damage, in cardiopulmonary resuscitation in both pre-hospital and in-hospital setting, cannot ventilate, cannot intubate situations. Contraindication are active pharyngeal or laryngeal reflexes, esophageal trauma and pathology, ingestion of corrosive agent, and oropharyngeal, pharyngeal, hypopharyngeal mass. Now buji, it is also called endotracheal tube introducer. It is semi-rigid catheter with a curved tip. It is 160 centimeter long and 15 French in size. So we use it when there is difficult glottic, there is difficult glottic opening. So we introduce it blindly, and when it enters into the trachea, we feel the tracheal cartilages, and once we confirm that we are in trachea, we reload the tube over it. So what is the importance of this black line? we have to keep it at the angle of mouth, so we can while introducing the endotracheal tube, so we cannot over push it, and if we give too much of force, then it penetrates the trachea and the bronchus. It can also be used as a tube exchanger. Now resuscitator bag called AMBU. What is stands for? Artificial manual breathing unit. It has three parts: self-inflating bag with oxygen connector, one-way valve, and the reservoir bag. The one-way valve has three ports. One is inspiratory inlet, allowing the entry of the fresh gas during inspiration; expiratory outlet, allowing the exit of the exhale gas; and connections to the face mask or tracheal tube. The valve acts as a spillover valve, that is, if excess inspiratory gas to be channeled directly to the expiratory outlet bypassing the patient port. The valve is suitable for both IPPV and spontaneous ventilation. The shape of bag is automatically restored after compression. This allows fresh gas to be drawn from the reservoir. Advantages: may be used to deliver room air without a pressurized gas supply, or self-contained and widely available. Disadvantages are: there is little tactile feedback during ventilation, there is no visual indication of spontaneous ventilation, and the device is less suitable for applying PEEP. Now humidification, why it is important in situation where inadequate air humidification, there is atelectasis, dry non-productive cough, thick dehydrated secretions, increased airway resistance, and increased incidence of infection, and increased work of breathing. So we use it for humidifying dry medical gases. It is we have passive humidifier and active humidifier. What is the example of passive humidifier? Stands for, HME stands for? So it does not produce heat and moisture, but it retains the heat and moisture of expired gases. So it composed of hygroscopic and hydrophobic cellulose membrane, and in some filters there is antimicrobial filter also. Then it is called HME filter. Not always it is not always present in patient only when they in specific conditions. So what is the mechanism? During expiration, the heat and moisture are trapped in this HME, and when a patient breathes again, then this trapped heat and moisture are released with inspiratory gases. So what are the advantages? Easy to use and inexpensive. Disadvantages are: increased dead space, need time to work well. It takes 5 to 20 minutes to adequately humidify the gases. In case of large tidal volume, it becomes less effective. If there are leaks, it also becomes less effective. It induces PEEP. It may be plugged by thick secretions and may increase in work of breathing. If patient is spontaneously breathing, then it will lead to dangerous CO2 level, increase in dangerous CO2 levels. So we have to change it every 24 hours and use in a single patient only. Now active humidifier. Active gas humidifier humidify cool, dry, inspired gases using an energy dependent process, used in patients who are mechanically ventilated or have respiratory problems and are at risk of applying airway plugging. So these are the different humidifiers, and these are the absolute humidity achieved by them. So maximum with the ultrasonic nebulized active humidifier and least with cold water active humidifier. What is the example of this cold water active humidifier? That wall mounted humidifier, bubble humidifier, which we use for giving oxygen therapy in ICU. This is surface water bath humidifier. It has water. This is heater. These are water vapor. The dry gas comes from here, mixes with the water vapor, and humidified gas goes to the patient. In contrast to aerosolized water droplets, water vapor does not usually carry microbes, so there is a reduced risk of infection. It does not significantly increase the resistance to gas flow and usually located some distance from the patient. This reduces the risk of liquid water entering the inspiratory limb of breathing system. Disadvantages are condensation can build up in the inspiratory limb or breathing system. Thermostat failure could lead to airway scalding, and bacterial and fungal colonization of the water reservoir can occur. This is bubble humidifier. This is the same wall-mounted humidifier. So advantages of this: it is compact, cheaper than other active humidifiers, and disadvantages are risk of bacterial growth and colonization of the water bath and mineral buildup along the capillary network, which can cause occlusion of oxygen inlet. Nebulized humidifier. So there is a high velocity driving gas which sucks the water from here and form aerosolized water particles. Dry gas comes from here and mixes with this aerosolized water particles and goes to the patient from here. So advantages are produce high absolute humidity compared to passive humidifiers, and there is no added dead space, less likely to occlude, decreased resistance to breathing, and specific disadvantages are risk of over humidifying patient leading to pulmonary edema, provide a route of infection, it is expensive and require an electrical water power supply. Now, oxygen delivery devices, they are classified on the basis of design in low, moderate and high flow system, and on performance in fixed delivery and variable delivery system. So performance depends on how much FiO2 the system delivers, and does the FiO2 remains fixed or varies under the changing patient condition. So this is nasal cannula. So what type of oxygen delivery device is this? Low flow variable delivery device. Okay, so it delivers up to 24 to 40% of FiO2, and flow required is 1/4 to 6 liter per minute. Merits are easy to fix, keeps hands free, not much interface with further airway care, low cost. Demerits are unstable, easily dislodged, high flow may be uncomfortable, nasal trauma, mucosal irritation, and FiO2 can be inaccurate and inconsistent. So, if the patient breathing normally, if 1 liter per minute of oxygen through nasal cannula can give FiO2 approximately by 4%. So, if we give 1 liter of oxygen, then the FiO2 delivered is 24%. Now, reservoir mask, there are three types: simple mask, partial rebreathing mask, and non-rebreathing mask. So this is simple face mask. What type of device is this? Moderate flow variable delivery device. Okay, so mask itself acts as a reservoir. The capacity is 100 to 200 ml. FiO2 depends on oxygen flow, mask volume, extent of air leakage, patient's breathing pattern. So FiO2 delivered is 40 to 60%, and gas flow required is 5 to 8 liter per minute. We have to keep at least of 5 liter of gas flow to prevent rebreathing of CO2. Okay, there is no increase in FiO2 if we increase the flow more than 8 liters. Why? Because it is already filled with the capacity of reservoir is already full. Okay. Merits are moderate but variable FiO2, good for patients with blocked nasal passage and mouth breathers, easy to apply. Demerits are uncomfortable, interfere with further airway care. Proper fitting is required, and rebreathing may occur. Now, partial rebreathing mask and non-rebreathing mask. This is mask, this is reservoir bag, and this is oxygen tubing. There is no wall. So mechanism is during expiration, oxygen and first third of exhale gas enter into the bag, and last 2/3 of exhale gas escape out of the exhalation ports. And during inspiration, this mixture of gases along with the oxygen are inhaled. FiO2 given by this is 60 to 80%, and fresh gas flow should be more than 8 liter per minute. The bag should remain inflated to ensure the highest FiO2 and to prevent CO2 rebreathing. If a patient peak airway flow meets with this flow, then it work as fixed delivery device. Non-rebreathing mask, it has 3 unidirectional valve, expiratory valve prevents air entrainment, inspiratory valve prevents exhale gas flow into the reservoir bag, FiO2 delivered is 80 to 90%, fresh gas flow required is 10 to 15 liters per minute. To deliver 100% of FiO2, bag should remain inflated. Factors affecting FiO2 is airway leakage, air leakage and its breathing, patient's breathing pattern. Now high flow system. These are the Venturi masks. There are two types, fixed FiO2 model and variable FiO2 model. Which type of device is this? Fixed performance device. So we use in patient with COPD where we have to titrate the FiO2. Okay. So maximum FiO2 given by the green connector at 15 liter of oxygen, it provides 60 liter of 60% of FiO2. Okay. Now EtCO2 monitoring. Capnometry is the measurement of CO2 in respiratory gases. A capnometer is the device that measures CO2. Capnography is the graphical display. So this is normal single breath capnographic tracing. It has 4 phases. This is 0, this is 1, 2 and 3. A represents beginning of exhalation and C represents beginning of exhalation. End of exhalation, sorry. So low EtCO2 found in hyperventilation and increase in dead space, high EtCO2 in hypoventilation. If sudden drop in EtCO2, then cardiac arrest, pulmonary embolism or sudden hypertension. These are the cardiac pulsation, and this is spontaneous support during mechanical ventilation. Thank you.